Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at Sam Altman, trying to understand his journey, his vision, and what it all means for the future, particularly, with AI. How Sam Altman is changing the AI world and what's behind his popularity.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to explore not just the what of his accomplishments, but also, the why behind his choices and what the consequences of his actions, could be.
It really is. I mean, this isn't just another, tech bro success story, right? This is about understanding a key player who's shaping a future that feels like it's, straight out of science fiction.
Right.
And to think, it all started with a kid in the Mac Plus.
Yeah, that's right. The computer Altman got when he was, 8 years old? I mean, back in the late 80s, that was a pretty big deal. But what's really striking is that he wasn't just, playing games on it. He was coding them.
Oh, wow. He even created a vocabulary program around that time, I read. Even as a kid, he was building things, solving problems.
Yeah.
Is that like a hint of the pragmatism we see in, his approach to technology today?
I think it is. I think it's a key part of understanding, his trajectory. He's not just a dreamer, he's a builder. And that combination of vision and practicality, it's pretty potent.
Yeah, for sure. So we see this drive, early on, but then things get really interesting when he heads off to John Burroughs School.
Ah, yes. This is where Altman really comes into his own, not just academically, but personally too. He embraces his identity as a gay man in an environment that, by all accounts, was incredibly supportive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been formative, especially thinking about the tech world, which even today, struggles with diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, it's hard to overstate, the impact of that experience. It shaped his leadership style, his commitment to fostering inclusive environments, and, his belief in the power of authenticity.
Right. And then comes the Stanford chapter. He dives into computer science, and then he drops out after 2 years. What was that about? Was he just impatient?
Well, it's tempting to see it as impulsiveness, but I think it's more nuanced than that. He recognized an opportunity with Loopt, his location sharing app.
Right.
And he just went for it. Remember, this was before, location sharing was commonplace. So, he was ahead of the curve.
He really was. Talk about a risk, though, right? Like dropping out of Stanford.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a small decision. It makes you wonder what calculations were going on in his head at the time.
Well, I mean, he was clearly, weighing the potential upside, against the opportunity cost of staying in school. It was a gamble, but it speaks volumes about his appetite for risk, right? And his confidence in his own abilities.
It really does, yeah. And he managed to, secure $5 million in funding at 21. That's not just luck. That's, knowing how to sell a vision, even if the technology wasn't, quite there yet.
Exactly. But here's where that pragmatism comes in again. Loopt faced some serious challenges. Early smartphones had terrible battery life. GPS was unreliable. I mean, the tech just wasn't ready for his vision.
Oh, I remember those days. A smartphone with 10% battery left felt like a ticking time bomb.
Oh, yeah.
So even with the funding and the vision, sometimes the timing just isn't right.
And then the Foursquare emerges.
Right.
Capturing the market share Loopt was aiming for. It's a classic lesson. Being first doesn't guarantee success.
Nope.
Yeah.
Loopt eventually, gets sold, but not for a massive profit.
Yeah.
Still, I imagine Altman walked away with some invaluable lessons, right?
For sure. Resilience, adaptability, the importance of timing. These are all themes that resonate throughout his career. And, he learned from that experience and carried those lessons into his next venture, and arguably his most impactful one to date. Y Combinator.
Ah, yes. Y Combinator, the startup accelerator that's, launched some of the biggest names in tech. Airbnb, Dropbox, Reddit.
Wow.
I mean, the list goes on and on.
And what's fascinating is that Altman himself, went through the Y Combinator program with Loopt.
Oh, wow.
He experienced it from, the founder's perspective, which gave him a unique understanding of the process.
Right. So when he became president of YC, he was in a position to really shake things up. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He oversaw a period of significant growth, expanding the program's size and scope. But he also pushed YC, beyond just funding startups. He was interested in tackling ambitious, global problems.
That sounds like a pretty big shift. Was there any pushback from the, YC community?
There were certainly those who questioned his approach. Some worried that he was spreading YC too thin, diverting attention from its core mission. But, Altman had a vision, and he wasn't afraid to, ruffle a few feathers to pursue it.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the specific companies that came out of YC during Altman's time. Airbnb, for example. I remember when they first launched, it was just like a way to rent out spare rooms.
Right.
But Altman saw something more, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He recognized the potential for Airbnb to become something like much bigger, a platform for experiences rather than just accommodations. And that insight, proved to be incredibly valuable.
He wasn't just throwing money at these companies, though. He was actively involved in shaping their strategies. Right?
And take Stripe, for example, the online payment platform.
Yeah.
Altman recognized the importance of making it easy for developers to integrate Stripe's technology.
Yeah.
He pushed them to prioritize creating a user-friendly API, which was a key factor in their success.
Yeah, it sounds like he was much more than just a figurehead.
Yeah.
He was like a mentor, a guide.
Yeah.
Helping these companies, navigate the often turbulent waters of the startup world.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. He wasn't just writing checks. He was investing his time, his knowledge, and his network to help these companies thrive.
Wow. He did have a few missteps along the way, though, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he try to create a utopian city in California?
Yeah, he did. That was a project that ultimately, failed to gain traction.
Okay.
It was an ambitious undertaking. But it highlights that even visionaries like Altman, aren't immune to setbacks.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that even with the best intentions and a lot of resources, not every idea is going to be, a winner.
Right.
It's clear that his time at Y Combinator solidified his reputation as a leader who could, spot potential and nurture it. He was becoming like a kingmaker in the tech world.
Yeah.
And that brings us to OpenAI. But let's save that story for part 2 of our deep dive.
OpenAI, it's hard to overstate the ambition baked into that name itself and the timing of its founding. In 2015, alongside someone like Elon Musk, it adds another layer of intrigue, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was like, the ultimate Silicon Valley power move.
Yeah.
You had two of the biggest names in tech coming together, united by this idea of building, artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
AGI. For the benefit of all mankind.
Yeah, it was a heady mix of idealism and ambition, for sure. They pledged billions of dollars, attracted some of the brightest minds in AI, and, promised to develop AGI safely and responsibly, ensuring it wouldn't be misused or fall into the wrong hands.
That all sounds incredibly noble. But was it ever, realistic? Could they actually deliver on such lofty promises?
Well, the early days of OpenAI, were marked by both excitement and tension, right?
Yeah.
You had Musk, the self-proclaimed techno-king with his grand vision of colonizing Mars and his cautious warnings about the, existential threat of AI.
Right. And then you had Altman.
Yeah.
The tech optimist, the pragmatist who, saw the potential of AI to solve some of the world's biggest problems, but also recognized the need to move quickly to stay ahead of the curve.
It was a clash of personalities, of philosophies, that was bound to create friction. Remember, this was a time when the public perception of AI was shifting rapidly.
Yeah. Movies like Ex Machina and Her were exploring the complex relationships between, humans and AI. People were starting to grapple with the ethical and philosophical implications of, creating machines that could think and learn.
Right. And within OpenAI, this debate was playing out in real time. Musk was urging caution, emphasizing the need for safety and control, while Altman was pushing for faster progress, arguing that the potential benefits of AI outweighed the risks.
So it wasn't just about technical challenges. It was about fundamentally different views on the nature of AI and its role in society.
Yeah.
No wonder their partnership was ultimately short-lived.
By 2018, Musk had officially left OpenAI, citing, conflicts of interest with his work at Tesla. But, the writing was on the wall long before that.
Right.
Their visions for the future of AI had diverged.
And then came the real turning point. OpenAI's shift from a nonprofit to a for-profit entity in 2019. Was this a betrayal of their original mission or a necessary step to secure the resources needed to achieve their goals?
It's a question that's still debated fiercely today. Some argue that the commercialization of OpenAI was inevitable, that the costs of developing advanced AI simply couldn't be sustained by, a nonprofit model.
Right.
Others see it as a sellout, a move that prioritized profit over the public good, potentially giving undue influence to investors with their own agendas. Where do you land on this debate?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Yeah.
On one hand, OpenAI's commercialization allowed them to attract significant investment from Microsoft, fueling the development of increasingly powerful AI models.
Right.
But on the other hand, it raised concerns about transparency, accountability, and the potential concentration of power in the hands of a few corporations.
It's interesting how this tension between, open access and responsible development has become a defining theme of OpenAI's story.
Yeah, it really has. It's a microcosm of the broader challenges we face, as a society, right, when it comes to AI. How do we balance the potential benefits of this technology with the need to, mitigate risks and ensure its development aligns with our values?
Right, exactly.
So let's talk about those benefits, because things really started heating up in the world of AI around this time. I remember 2019 being the year everyone was buzzing about GPT-2.
Yeah.
OpenAI's language model that was so good at generating text, that seemed almost human.
GPT-2 was a watershed moment.
Yeah.
It demonstrated the incredible progress being made in natural language processing, but it also sparked a wave of anxiety, about the potential for misuse.
Yeah. OpenAI initially decided to withhold the full version of GPT-2, citing concerns that it could be used to generate, fake news, spam, or other harmful content. Was this a responsible decision?
Yeah.
Or an overreact?
It was a controversial move, to say the least.
Yeah.
Some applauded OpenAI for taking a cautious approach.
Yeah.
Recognizing the potential dangers of releasing such a powerful tool into the wild. Others criticized them for stifling innovation, arguing that open access to AI technology was essential for scientific progress and democratic accountability.
It was like a classic dilemma, highlighting the difficult trade-offs inherent in developing powerful technologies with the potential for both, good and harm.
Right.
And then came GPT-3 in 2020.
Yeah.
An even bigger, more powerful language model with a staggering 175 billion parameters.
Wow.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with the technical jargon, could you quickly explain what parameters are and why this number is so significant?
Of course. In simple terms, parameters are like the knobs and dials that control the behavior of a language model.
Okay.
The more parameters a model has, the more complex patterns it can learn, from the data it's trained on.
Right.
GPT-3's 175 billion parameters represented a huge leap forward in AI capabilities. It could generate incredibly realistic and coherent text, translate languages, write different kinds of creative content, and answer your questions in an informative way.
It felt like we were on the cusp of a new era, right?
Yeah.
One where AI could augment human creativity, automate tasks, and potentially even surpass human intelligence in certain areas.
And OpenAI knew they had to tread carefully. They opted to provide access to GPT-3 through an API, allowing developers and researchers to use the model under controlled conditions.
Right.
It was an attempt to strike a balance between, fostering innovation and preventing misuse.
But critics argued that this approach was creating a walled garden.
Yeah.
Concentrating power in the hands of OpenAI and its partners.
Right.
They worried that this could stifle competition and limit access to the benefits of AI for those outside the chosen few.
It's a valid concern. The question of who controls access to AI and how that power is used is one of the defining challenges of our time.
Yeah.
It's a debate that will only intensify as AI continues to advance at an exponential pace.
And speaking of advancements, I can't forget to mention OpenAI's Dota 2 victory in 2018. Yeah. They created an AI that could beat professional human players at this incredibly complex strategy game. What was the significance of that achievement?
It was a powerful demonstration of, AI's ability to learn and adapt in complex environments. It captured the public imagination, highlighting the potential for AI to not only automate tasks, but also to excel in areas that were once considered the exclusive domain of human expertise.
It was a wake-up call for many people.
Yeah.
A glimpse into a future where AI could potentially outperform humans in a wide range of fields, from gaming to finance to scientific research.
But it also raised, important questions about the nature of work, the value of human skills, and the potential for AI to disrupt existing industries and create new challenges for society.
It's fascinating how OpenAI's work, often blurred the lines between science fiction and reality, prompting us to confront not just the technical possibilities of AI, but also the ethical and societal implications.
And no event captured this dynamic more vividly than the launch of ChatGPT in 2022.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like the entire internet exploded overnight with everyone trying out this AI chatbot that could hold conversations, write poems, generate code, and seemingly do it all with remarkable fluency and creativity.
It was the moment AI went mainstream. Suddenly everyone was talking about it, debating its potential benefits and dangers, and wondering what this all meant for the future of humanity.
ChatGPT was a cultural phenomenon, you know, a watershed moment that catapulted Sam Altman and OpenAI into the global spotlight.
But as we know, Altman's journey is far from over. In fact, it takes a dramatic turn in November 2023 when he's suddenly ousted from OpenAI by the very board he helped assemble.
That's right. And we'll delve into that saga and its implications when we return for the final part of our deep dive.
So we left off on that cliffhanger, right? Sam Altman, the driving force behind OpenAI, gets abruptly fired by the board. What on earth was that all about? It just seemed to come out of nowhere.
It did, didn't it? The official reason they gave was a lack of candor, but the specifics, they were very murky. It fueled all the speculation about internal power struggles, disagreements over the direction of the company, maybe even, clashes of personalities.
Right. And then almost immediately there's this massive backlash, right? From OpenAI employees.
It's huge.
Over 700 of them threatened to quit and protest. That's got to be a pretty strong indication of the loyalty and the respect that Altman commanded within the company.
Oh, absolutely. It speaks volumes about his leadership. It wasn't just about, a CEO being ousted. It was about a vision being threatened. These employees, they believed in what Altman was building. They believed in the potential of OpenAI to make a real difference in the world.
It felt like, something bigger than just a boardroom coup was happening. And then, as if things weren't dramatic enough, Microsoft, which was already heavily invested in, OpenAI, steps into the fray.
Oh, yeah.
And their CEO, Satya Nadella, personally offers Altman a new role, essentially creating a safe haven for him and his team. Talk about a power play.
It was like watching a, high-stakes poke game unfold, in real time. Everyone was wondering, who is going to blink first? What did this all mean for the future of OpenAI?
The stakes were incredibly high. I mean, OpenAI was at the forefront of AI development, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And suddenly its future was hanging in the balance.
Right.
And then just when we thought the story couldn't get any wilder, Altman is reinstated as CEO of OpenAI with a brand new board.
Yeah.
Just 5 days after, being fired.
It was a stunning reversal. To this day, we still don't know exactly what transpired behind closed doors, what concessions were made, what promises were exchanged.
It's like something out of a Hollywood movie.
It is.
The whole saga really exposed, I think, the inner workings of Silicon Valley, right? Yeah. The power dynamics, the egos, the high stakes battles over the future of technology.
It also underscored, a fundamental question. Who ultimately controls the development and deployment of AI? Is it a handful of powerful individuals? Or corporations, or governments, or should there be a more democratic and inclusive approach?
That's a debate that's going to become even more crucial as AI becomes, increasingly powerful and pervasive in our lives.
Absolutely, we need to be thinking about these issues,
Yeah.
Now, before it's too late.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment. We've talked a lot about Altman's professional life, his achievements, his setbacks, But what about the man behind the code?
Yeah.
Who is Sam Altman, outside of the boardroom and the lab?
Well, he's notoriously private about his personal life, but we do know that he's openly gay and has been a vocal advocate for LGBTQ plus rights.
Right.
That's significant, especially in the in the tech industry, which still struggles with diversity and representation.
Right. And speaking of representation, there's this interesting story about how he met his partner Oliver Muller in.
Yes.
It's a story that feels almost too perfect for Silicon Valley. They met at an AI conference on other places. And what's even more intriguing is that Muller is one of the founders of Grindr, the dating app.
Oh, wow.
Talk about like a touch of irony. Two tech pioneers finding love amidst, algorithms and artificial intelligence.
That's right.
It's a reminder that even in a world, increasingly dominated by technology, human connection still matters.
Absolutely. And despite their, demanding careers, Altman and Muller seem to have built a strong and supportive relationship. It offers a glimpse into the human side of someone who often seems, larger than life.
Speaking of larger than life, Altman has openly embraced the idea of transhumanism, even signing up for brain cryopreservation. For our listeners who might not be familiar with this concept, could you briefly explain what transhumanism is all about?
Sure. Essentially, transhumanism is a philosophical movement that believes in using technology to enhance human capabilities, overcome biological limitations, and ultimately transcend our current human form.
Right.
Think life extension, cognitive enhancement, and even the possibility of uploading our consciousness into a digital realm.
Sounds like, something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But for Altman and others in the transhumanist movement, these ideas aren't just fantasies.
Right.
They represent a future they're actively working towards.
Right.
Brain cryopreservation, for example, is the idea that you can preserve your brain after death in the hope that future technology will be able to revive it.
It's certainly a bold bet on the future.
It is. It's a reflection of Altman's deep-seated belief in the power of technology to solve, even the most fundamental human problems, including, death itself.
And his vision for the future doesn't stop there, right? I mean, he's talked about the potential of AI to transform everything from the economy to the very nature of work, within the next decade or two.
He sees AI as a tool that can automate tasks, boost productivity, and create new opportunities for wealth creation. But he also, acknowledges the potential for disruption, for job displacement, and for widening inequality if these changes aren't managed carefully.
And he's not just focused on AI, is he? He's also interested in things like, quantum computing, neural interfaces, and genetic engineering.
That's right. He sees these technologies as interconnected,
right.
each with the potential to radically reshape our world. Quantum computing could lead to breakthroughs in medicine, material science, and artificial intelligence itself.
Yeah.
Neural interfaces could allow us to control devices with our thoughts, enhance our cognitive abilities, and even merge our minds with machines.
It's both, like exhilarating and a little terrifying, honestly, to imagine the possibilities. And that's the key point. Altman is a visionary. He's a catalyst for change. But his vision is not without its critics.
Right.
His stance on free speech, for example, has been called out for, potentially fueling harmful content online. He's argued against what he sees as cancel culture, but some worry that this could create a breeding ground for hate speech and misinformation.
Right. It's a delicate balance.
It really is.
How do we protect free speech while also, mitigating the harms that can come from unchecked expression, especially, in the digital age? It's a question that societies around the world are grappling with.
And then there's WorldCoin, his ambitious project to create a global cryptocurrency using iris scans for identification. I mean, that's raised some serious privacy concerns.
It's a prime example of what critics call, tech solutionism, the belief that technology can fix everything.
Right.
But is a global cryptocurrency, based on biometric data, really the best solution to the problems of poverty and inequality?
Right.
What about the potential for, misuse and abuse of such sensitive information?
Altman has argued that WorldCoin is designed to be, secure and equitable, but the concerns about data privacy and the potential for exclusion are valid.
It's crucial to have these debates, to scrutinize the potential downsides of these technologies and to ensure that their development is guided by ethical principles and a commitment to social good.
So it's clear that Altman's story is far from over. He's a complex figure. He's driven by ambition, idealism, and a deep belief in the power of technology to reshape our world. But his vision is is not universally shared, and his actions have not been without controversy. So with such immense power and influence, what direction will Altman steer AI in? And what role do we play in shaping that future?
I think those are some great questions for all of us to consider.
This deep dive has been quite the journey through the life and vision of one of the most influential figures in the world of technology, but it's also a reminder that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's a future we're all creating, together. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.